my brothers and sisters across the sea, my family in America. I am Captain Ibrahim Trayor, speaking to you from the heart of Burkina Faso, a land that beats with a pulse identical to your own. I stand before you not as a president, not as a soldier, but as a son of Africa, calling out to you with a voice forged in struggle, tempered by truth, and lifted by hope. I speak to you now because our stories are woven together not by the chains of the past, but by the unbreakable thread of our shared blood, our shared dreams, and our shared destiny. You, Black Americans, are not merely descendants of Africa. You are Africa. And today I ask you to hear me, to feel me, to rise alongside me. Let me begin with a question that burns in my very soul. Why do we, the children of the Earth's richest continent, still carry this weight of poverty, division, and doubt? Africa, with its gold glittering beneath our feet, its rivers flowing with life, its soil cradling the seeds of abundance. Why is it the poorest? Why do you, in a land of plenty, still have to fight for your dignity, your voice, your very breath? The answer is no mystery. It is a truth we have been taught to ignore. For 100 years, the hands of empire have reached into our lands and our lives, pulling out wealth while planting lies. They have taken our gold, our diamonds, our children, and told us we are nothing. They have divided us, African from African American, tribe from tribe, heart from heart, and convinced us our strength is our shame. But I am here to tell you, those days are over. The lies end now. The truth is rising, and it starts with us. My brothers and sisters, my heart both aches and soars when I consider your history. Not the version they fed you in classrooms built to dim your light, but the truth that pulses in your veins, the saga that roars in your soul. Your history is not just a tale of pain, though that pain was real, raw, and relentless. It is a saga of power, of a resilience so fierce it bends time, of a courage so deep it carves rivers through stone. Your ancestors were not slaves, as the world would have you believe. No, they were warriors, scholars, kings, and queens, stolen from their thrones, ripped from the heart of empires that shone brighter than the sun. They were the architects of Mali, where gold flowed like rivers and knowledge was currency. They were the griots of Songhai, whose songs wove the threads of history into tapestries of truth. They were the builders of great Zimbabwe, whose stone walls stood as testaments to a greatness the world still tries to erase. These were your people, your blood, your bones. They carried Africa in their very marrow. And when they were torn from their homes, they brought that spirit with them, unyielding, unbroken, eternal. Imagine the weight of their journey, my family. Picture the ships, the dark, suffocating holds where they were chained body to body, heart to heart. Yet their spirits refused to kneel. They were stolen from lands where they ruled, where their laughter filled villages, where their wisdom shaped nations. They were kings like Mansa Musa, whose wealth made empires blush. Scholars like those of Timbuktu, whose libraries held truths the West could only dream of. They were queens like Nzinga, who fought with a fire that burned through oppression, and farmers who coaxed life from the earth with hands that knew its secrets. These were not people who bowed. They were people who built, who loved, who dreamed. And, when they were dragged across the ocean through the horrors of the Middle Passage, they carried Africa with them. Not just in memory, but in the rhythm of their breath, the beat of their hearts, the songs they whispered in the dead of night. Those songs, those rhythms, they survived the chains. They survived the whips. They survived the centuries in the fields of America under a sky that mocked their suffering. They sang our songs. Can you hear them, my brothers and sisters? Can you feel the pulse of those melodies born in the villages of Segu, the forests of Nigeria, the plains of Angola? They sang to remember who they were. They sang to defy the lie that they were nothing. They sang to teach their children, your ancestors, that no chain could bind their spirit, no whip could break their pride. In the face of unimaginable cruelty, whips that tore flesh, laws that stripped humanity, families torn apart like paper, they held fast to their dignity. They wove their pride into every quilt, every story, every glance shared in the dark. They were not just surviving. They were resisting, every single day. With every breath they took, they planted seeds of rebellion in the soil of their suffering, knowing that one day you would reap the harvest. They planted seeds of their dignity. And when they rose, the earth itself trembled. Think of Harriet Tubman, a woman whose courage was a beacon in the night. She didn't just escape, she became a liberator, leading her people through shadows and danger, her eyes fixed on freedom, her heart a compass of hope. Picture Nat Turner, his soul ablaze with righteous fury, striking with fire against a system that dared to call him less than human. His rebellion was not just a fight. It was a declaration that the spirit of Africa could not be caged. And Malcolm, our brother Malcolm X, whose voice was thunder, whose words were lightning, splitting the lies of the world wide open. He spoke a truth so raw it shook the foundations of empires, so clear it woke the sleeping, so bold it still echoes in your fight today. These were not just moments. They were earthquakes reshaping the world, proving that your ancestors' blood was not just royal. It was revolutionary. You are their legacy, my family. You are not just survivors of their pain. You are the heirs of their power. Every step you take, every word you speak, every dream you chase carries the weight of their sacrifices and the fire of their strength. You are the children of warriors who built empires, of scholars who wrote truths in the stars, of queens who defied armies with nothing but their will. You are the descendants of those who sang through suffering, who loved through loss, who fought through fear. Their blood runs in you not as a burden but as a blessing. You are not just here to exist. You are here to revolt, to rebuild, to reclaim. I am calling on you to remember who you are, not through the lens of those who stole your history, but through the truth of your own soul. They have told you your ancestors were nothing, that Africa was a dark, savage place. Lies. Africa was a cradle of civilization when Europe was still crawling. Timbuktu's libraries held thousands of manuscripts while others were burning books in fear. The kingdom of Aksum traded with Rome and Persia, its coins gleaming across continents. The walls of Great Zimbabwe stood tall when others were building with mud. Your ancestors were not primitives. They were pioneers, poets, philosophers. They were stolen not because they were weak, but because their strength was a threat, their wealth a temptation, their spirit a fire that could not be contained. This is not about guilt or shame for the past. This is about pride for the present, power for the future. The world wants you to forget, to see your history as a chain rather than a crown. They want you to believe your struggle began in slavery, not in sovereignty. But I am here to tell you, your story begins with thrones, not shackles. It begins with empires, not enslavement. It begins with a people so mighty that the world conspired to tear them down. Yet they still stand. You still stand. Every time you march, every time you speak, every time you refuse to bow, you honor them. Every time you create, you echo their genius. Every time you love, you carry their heart. So my brothers and sisters, I am calling you to rise. Not just for yourself, but for the ancestors who fought for you. For the children who will inherit your fight. Remember who you are. The sons and daughters of kings and queens. The keepers of a legacy that no empire could erase. You are not just survivors of a painful past. You are revolutionaries building a powerful future. You are the spark that can light the world ablaze. The voice that can silence the lies. The strength that can break the chains. Stand tall. Sing loud. Fight fierce. You are Africa's heartbeat. America's fire. The world's hope. Let's make the ancestors proud. Let's make history tremble. Let's make freedom real. But let me be clear. This is not about nostalgia. This is not about living in the past. This is about claiming the future. The system that chained your ancestors is the same one that exploits Africa today. It is the same system that sends aid with one hand while stealing our resources with the other. It is the same system that tells you your schools must fail, your communities must fracture, your dreams must wait. It is the same system that calls me a dictator when I demand my people's gold stays in our hands. They fear us because they know what we can do when we stand together. They fear the fire of our unity, the clarity of our truth, the unstoppable force of our liberation. I know your pain. I see it in the stories that cross the ocean, the names of Trayvon, Breonna, George etched into your hearts like scars. I see it in the prisons that cage your brothers, the streets that claim your children, the systems that deny your worth. But I also see your strength. I see it in the poets who spit truth, the mothers who raise kings, the organizers who march for justice. I see it in the way you have turned pain into power. From the Black Panthers to Black Lives Matter, you have shown the world what resilience looks like. Now I am asking you to show the world what unity can do. Let me tell you about Burkina Faso, my home. We were once called Upper Volta, a name imposed by colonizers who saw our land as a warehouse for their greed. In 1983, a man named Thomas Sankara, our brother, our hero, renamed this land Burkina Faso, the land of upright people. He told us to plant our own food, build our own schools, reject the chains of foreign debt. He was killed for it, but his spirit lives in us. When I took leadership in 2022, I stood on his shoulders. I looked at my people, farmers who toil under the sun, children who dream under the stars, and I said, no more. No more will our gold leave our soil while our people starve. No more will foreign powers dictate our future. No more will we kneel. We have expelled those